Surah fil'l, the elephant. As you all know that this is the 105th surah of the Quran and was revealed in Mecca. Let's understand this surah ayah by ayah. First ayah. First, let's look at the translation. Have you not considered, O Muhammad, how your Lord dealt with the companions of the elephants? To understand this translation, first we need to know what exactly is the story of the companions of the elephants. The story of the people of the elephants who came with an army of elephants for the purpose of destroying the house of Allah in the Holy Kaaba, in Mecca. But their plan backfired and the divine scourge overtook them. Allah destroyed the army with a flock of ordinary birds. Thus their plans were foiled and thwarted. This event took place in the very year in which the Holy Prophet was born at Mecca, according to some traditions and the popular view among the historians. Ibn Kathir. The scholars of Hadith have taken this event as a special type of mujiza, miracle, of the Holy Prophet Abraha, the commander of the Abyssinian army in Yemen, and the governor of that region. Having captured Yemen, he built a superbly luxurious cathedral in his area. The purpose was to attract the people of Yemen to make pilgrimage to this cathedral instead of Kaaba in Mecca. It was huge and tall so that a person standing at the bottom was not able to see the top. He decorated the structure with gold, silver, and other precious gems. In short, he meant it to be an architectural masterpiece, second to none or unsurpassed in the world, to be revered by all and sundry and divert pilgrims from the sacred mosque in Mecca to his cathedral in Yemen. Thus he proclaimed throughout his kingdom that no one should ever visit the Kaaba in Mecca, and that the pilgrimage should from now on take place to his so-called Kaaba in Yemen. Although the Arabs were idol worshippers, the love and reverence for the religion of Prophet Ibrahim and the Kaaba had permeated their hearts. As a result, the Qatan and Quraysh tribes were enraged and infuriated by this proclamation. One night, someone entered the church and defecated in it. When Abraha came to know about it, and learnt that a Qurayshi had done this, he swore to march to the house of Mecca and destroy it stone by stone. Thus he prepared himself and set out with a huge and powerful army, so that none might prevent him from carrying out his mission. A special elephant whose name was Mahmud. It was unusually huge in size and powerful in strength, the like of which had never been seen before. Their intention was to use this extraordinary elephant to demolish the Kaaba. They planned to do this by fastening chains to the pillars of the Kaaba and placing the other ends around the neck of the elephant. Then they would make the elephant pull on them in order to tear down the walls of the Kaaba, God forbid, all at once. When the Arabs heard of Abraha's expedition, they considered it their moral obligation to defend the sacred house and thwart the evil plans of the conspirators. Thus, the Arabs raised a large army under the command of Diju Nafr, a Yemenite Arab. He called the Arabs to go to war against Abraha and fight in defense of the sacred house, so that the enemy is unable to tear it down. The people responded to him readily and entered into battle with the enemy, but he defeated them. This was due to Allah's will that no humans should protect his house and his intent to expose the enemy to embarrassment and venerate the sacred sanctuary to the highest degree. According to Ibn Ishaq's narration, Abdul Muttalib replied, "By Allah, we too have no desire to fight him, nor do we have the might to do so. This is the sacred sanctuary of Allah built by his friend Prophet Ibrahim. If he wills to prevent Abraha from pulling it down, he will protect it. And if he allows him to approach it, by Allah, we have no means to defend it. We have no strength to face the army of Abraha. So, my Lord, defend your Kaaba." Having so prayed in all earnestness, Abdul Muttalib led all the Meccans to the neighboring mountains, because they were convinced that Allah's scourge would overtake Abraha and his troops. Abraha prepared to enter the sacred city of Mecca. He prepared the elephant named Mahmud and mobilized his army, and they turned the elephant towards the Kaaba. Then he released the elephant's ear and it knelt and sat down forthwith. The elephant drivers exerted all efforts to persuade the elephant to enter the city, but their efforts were in vain. Then they tried striking it with large iron spears and putting iron arrowheads in its trunk. They beat it on its head with axes and used hooked staffs to pull it out of its resistance and make it stand, but it refused. This was one aspect of the manifestation of the divine power unfolding itself miraculously. On the other hand, some flocks of birds were seen coming from the sea. Each bird carried 3 pebbles of the size of gram seeds or lentils, 1 in each claw and 2 in its beak. Birds looked unusual, which were never seen before. They looked smaller than pigeons, and their claws were red in color. They flew over Abraha's army and pelted them with the pebbles. Each pebble was more devastating than the bullet of a revolver. When it fell on anything, it tore directly through the body and settled deep in the ground. Seeing this scourge, the elephants fled in panic, except one which was harmed and destroyed by the pebble. Not all of Abraha's men were destroyed instantly. People escaped in different directions. They died excruciatingly on their way back. As Allah had willed that the most distressful scourge should be inflicted upon Abraha, He did not allow him to die immediately. In fact, Allah afflicted him with a deadly disease. A kind of poison spread thoroughly through his entire body and caused every single part to decay. His limbs began to rot and separate from the rest of his body, and he started losing one finger after another. His body was carried back in that state to Yemen. By the time they arrived back in Sana'a, the capital of Yemen, his body was broken down limb by limb until he eventually died. The People of the Elephants is a momentous event in Arab history, which was witnessed by hundreds of Arabs. It is to this well-known historical incident that this surah refers. It is interesting to note that the event took place before the blessed birth of the holy prophets. He could not have seen or witnessed it with his own eyes. However, the incident was so widely known as if the prophet had seen it with his own eyes, which is a sign of the certainty of its happening. Second ayah. Did he not frustrate their scheme? Here Allah is talking about how Allah destroyed them and their plan, which is already explained in ayah 1. Third ayah. For he sent against them flocks of birds. This ayah refers how Allah sent the flocks of birds and destroyed them. These birds were somewhat smaller in size than pigeon, and they were birds that were never seen before. Fourth ayah. That pelted them with stones of baked clay. This explains that how the birds pelted the army with the small stones and destroyed them. This refers to ordinary or common clay rolled into little balls and then baked to harden. These pebbles are not heavy or hard like rocks chipped off mountains. They in themselves did not have any devastating power, but it was Allah who created in these stones the high capability of explosion and blowing up even more than the bullets of a revolver. Fifth ayah. Leaving them like chewed up straw. When it is eaten or devoured by animals, it does not remain in the same state. This is what happened to Abraha and his army. Conclusion. The miraculous event of the people of the elephant enhanced in the hearts of the entire Arabian society the love, respect, and honor of the Quraysh. When Arabia witnessed that Allah has, on their behalf, miraculously destroyed their enemy, they were convinced that the Quraysh are men of God and custodians of the sacred house of Allah, Qurtubi. That is why they were respected and protected wherever they went. Although other caravans in Arabia had to fear attacks from highway robbers, the Quraysh traveled untouched and enjoyed high social status. As a result, they could freely and safely carry out their commercial activities in the neighboring states and enjoy economic prosperity. The surah that follows refers to these journeys and invites the Quraysh to be thankful to Allah and worship Him alone for providing them with all of their needs. Alhamdulillah.